So we have a running joke in my family. And by running joke, I mean like a thing that I say that nobody laughs at, like most dads. Where I say, I'd really love an iPad, but I don't want to pay for one. At the end of the day, an iPad would be fun, but there is nothing about an iPad that I absolutely need. It's just a thing that would be kind of cool. The problem is, I know some stuff that makes an iPad more expensive than the sticker price, and so I want to talk about that today. So let's get into it. Hey everybody, my name's AJ and this is The Wealthy Idiot Show. Before we go much further, please make sure to destroy that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps us out tremendously and we can spread this message of financial peace to as many people as we possibly can. Today I want to throw a whole bunch of numbers your direction, so hopefully we can make this as simple as possible and you can keep up. And what I want to do is I want to cover the real cost of things. Not just the sticker price, but the actual cost of things. And once you kind of see how much stuff costs you, I think it's going to change your mind a little bit on how you're currently spending your money. Maybe you don't buy that iPad that you don't actually need because the numbers just don't support that decision. So let's check it out. The median individual makes about $44,000 per year. So we'll put Bob up on the screen, making $44,000 per year. So you could make more or less. We're just going to use this example. So take, whatever information I'm giving you and you could plug in your own numbers to make it fit. But for now, Bob makes $44,000 a year. Now, if we break that down, that's roughly $3,650 per month, $850 per week, and about $21 per hour. All these are kind of rounded off, but that's how much Bob is making in the long run. And when we look at things like sticker price, we think of things in terms of how much cash it costs. So the first example I want to talk about is a PlayStation 5. Know a lot of guys are looking at PlayStation 5s. They've been around for about a year now, but maybe for Christmas, that's what you're aiming for. A PlayStation 5 is $500. So for Bob, that's worth roughly 24 hours of his life. When we look at things in terms of hours, it kind of changes a little bit. You have to put in 24 hours of effort just to be able to afford $500 PlayStation, not including tax or any other accessories like games attached to that device. So it costs quite a bit of time for Bob to be able to accumulate that. Let's take a second example. The average amount of tax that Bob is going to pay this year is $6,600. That's worth roughly 314 hours of Bob's life, 7.7 weeks. And 1.8 months. So Bob will spend roughly 2 months, almost 2 months of his time working for the government in the year 2022. Now let's look at the average car. So I looked up the average car in November of 2022, what the average car purchase was, and it was $48,000. That just blew my mind. In the middle of extreme inflation and in the middle of the possible recession coming up, people are buying $48,000 cars on average. That's nuts. For Bob, a $48,000 car is roughly 2,200 hours of his life. 57 weeks. 13 months, which is 1 month over a year. It will take Bob 1 year of his life just to be able to afford a car. 1 whole year of working. But that doesn't include the fact that most people are financing cars and you're paying interest on top of that car payment. So the actual cost of a car with interest is roughly $64,000 over a 72-month loan. That's 3,050 hours of Bob's life, 75 weeks and 17 months. We're approaching almost 2 years worth of Bob's life just to be able to afford one single car. One vehicle, one object which you're going to spend most of your time in, driving from your home to your work, back to your home. These are just a few examples, but looking at things in terms of hours spent dramatically changes how much you'd be willing to pay for a particular item. It does it for me. Knowing how much an iPad costs, like how many hours it takes me to work to be able to afford an iPad, just makes it seem not all that worth it. I would rather put those hours of my life into something much more important, like being able to take care of my family, giving them opportunities or experiences that they're going to remember, maybe putting more money into our house and the way that our house is set up, furnishing, etc., so that we can be more comfortable where we live. All of those things are way more important to me than just throwing money away or hours of my life, weeks, months, or years of my life away on something that I don't actually need. So it changes the expense part of the equation quite dramatically. But there's something else that is even more important and even a bigger deal here, and that's what's called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is defined by Oxford Dictionary as, quote, the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. So in other words, when you choose to spend your money on something like a PlayStation, I know that you don't really choose taxes, but when you're forced to pay those taxes, the car that you probably shouldn't afford or be purchasing, you're not investing that money. And if you have plenty of time left in your life to continue to invest money, you're taking a huge hit because that money could grow into so much more. If you're in your 20s, that money will grow like 80 times its original value. If you're in your 30s, it's something like 50 or 60. The amount that grows over time is crazy significant. For the sake of this episode, I'm going to consider a 30-year time frame. If you have 30 years left to invest before your retirement, that's how long I'm going to consider for this example. Bob has 30 years left, and so that's what we're going to use. So that PlayStation didn't just cost Bob $500. It also cost what he could have made if he invested that $500 in the opportunity cost. And if Bob invested that, he would have made $8,200 over the next 30 years. That PlayStation cost him a total of $8,700. Or if we break that down into hours or time like we did before, that PlayStation cost him 414 hours, 10 weeks, and almost 2.5 months. A PlayStation cost Bob 2.5 months worth of his life. That just seems crazy. But let's look at even crazier examples. If you didn't like taxes before, buckle up, because $6,600 invested today would have made Bob $115,000 in 30 years. So those taxes just didn't cost $6,600, it cost $115,000. Now, how much time is that off of Bob's life? It's not going to be good. I'll let you guys know right now. It's 5,500 hours, 135 weeks, 31.5 months, which is 2.6 years. The opportunity cost and the cost of paying taxes this year cost Bob 2.6 years of his life. And that doesn't even count the taxes he's going to pay the following year or the year after that. He's going to end up costing himself decades off of his life working for the government. Now let's look at our car example. Investing $64,000 would have made Bob $1.1 million. That's 52,000 hours of his life, almost 1,300 weeks, 300 months, which equals out to 25 years. This cost Bob 25 years worth of work and opportunity cost just to be able to purchase this car. Once you start looking at stuff in this format and you start to see how much stuff is costing you in terms of your life, how much life is being sucked out of you to buy this thing, it really dramatically changes what you're willing to spend money on, and it puts a great importance on investing over time. All we did here is just look at how much we could have made if we just invested this amount into a basic S&P 500 index fund, which was returning on average 10% per year. That's not always guaranteed. Commenter recently said, hey, when stuff is down, it's down. It doesn't always go up. On average, we can expect about 10% returns per year. And all of these things in terms of cash, if we look at your hourly wage, like what it is that you are, what value you produce per hour, and look at that information, just buying the average car, what the average person is buying in terms of cars, is costing Bob 25 years of his life just to be able to afford. But the good news is, if you flip this on its head and you think about it in the exact opposite terms, instead of thinking about how much is this purchase going to cost me, you could start to think, how much is this investment going to save me? How many years could I get back on my life by making this investment? If you make an investment of $6,600 today and you leave it there for 30 years, you're going to gain 2.5 years of your life is going to be made in investments as opposed to actually being spent by you. So sorry to throw a bunch of information at you. I know that's a lot of numbers. The idea that I'm trying to get across is a mindset shift so that you know what it is that it's costing you to make these purchases and the opportunity cost of what it takes to make these purchases. And hopefully it turns your mindset into being motivated to invest and to create more time for yourself and for your future and provide financial peace. So if you like today's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to avoid $6,600 in taxes like Bob is definitely going to want to, check out wealthyidiots.com. We cover how to avoid taxes legally on wealthyidiots.com on a regular basis. And we have a lot of great news and calculators on the website, so check those out. And I want to thank you for coming to our channel, liking and supporting us. We couldn't be doing this without you, and I'll see you guys next time.